In this video, we are going to talk about some of the numerical examples related to antenna parameters. So if you see this first example, uh, the field pattern is given by this electric field equation, E theta is equal to cos square theta between 0 to 90 degree. So if you visualize this, I already told you that radiation pattern can be represented in terms of power pattern or the field pattern. So here the expression for field pattern is given. So if you have E theta is equal to cos square theta, it means that the maximum of this expression cos square theta is going to be 1, obviously, because cos theta has the maximum value of 1 or plus minus 1. So if you square it, it is going to be 1. So E theta is going to be, maximum value of E theta is going to be 1. Similarly, the power is also going to be, which is given by the square of the magnitude of E theta. You will get it as cos to the power 4 theta, right? So for this also, the maximum magnitude of power is going to be 1. So it will vary between 0 to 1 because cos theta varies between 0 to plus minus 1. So we can actually visualize this radiation pattern like this. So suppose this horizontal line represents xy plane and the vertical line represents the z axis. So since you see that this field pattern is represented only for 0 to 90 degree, which means if you remember the spherical coordinates, uh, 0 to 90 degree for theta represent only uh, the angles between this, right? And since there is no expression of phi, which means your radiation pattern is going to be completely symmetric in horizontal direction, which is in the xy plane direction. So let us draw a rough map of radiation pattern. So it will look something like this. So I'm just drawing a rough map of this. So here, which is the maximum power point, you already know that a maximum magnitude can reach up to 1. So there will be, on both the sides of this curve, there will be two half power points where the power is going to be 1 by 2. So if this is the map of power pattern, then this maximum power will be 1 and half power point will be 1 by 2. But if this is this radiation pattern is representing electric field uh, pattern, then you can say that the maximum point will obviously be 1 because under root of 1 is 1. Because if you want to find electric field from power, it is just going to be under root of power. So this will be 1, but at half power point, your electric field is going to be under root of 1 by 2. So it will be 1 by under root 2, which is equal to 0.707. So if you are talking about the electric field pattern, which is the case for this, on both the side of this curve, you will have the magnitude at half power point. The magnitude of electric field will be 0.707 because your maximum is 1, right? So if you connect these points with the origin and calculate the angle between them, so this angle is basically what is called your half power beam width. So for time, since we have the expression for E field, which is basically moving in this direction, if you change theta from 0 to 90 degree, so whatever angle we will calculate, it will be given by only this angle. Let me call it as theta dash, right? Let me call it as theta dash. So at theta dash, the expression of this E theta is going to be have a value equal to 0.707. So I'm writing it as at theta dash, E theta dash, which is equal to cos square theta dash will be equal to 0.707, right? So now calculate this. Uh, you have to calculate then cos theta dash is equal to under root 0.707. And if you take inverse, you will get theta dash is equal to cos inverse under root 0.707, which will be equal to how much? 33 degrees. So you got your theta dash as 33 degrees. And since you know that in both the sides, this graph is going to be symmetric, because as already I told you that there is no expression for phi in this expression of E. Your radiation pattern is going to be symmetric in the horizontal direction. So this angle will also be theta dash. So we can say that your HPBW, or half power beam width, is nothing but 2 theta dash, which is equal to 33 into 2, which is equal to 66 degrees. So your half power beam width will be 66 degrees. Now let us talk about the beam width between first nulls. So you know that the definition of beam width between first null, or called FNBW, is the point where the power or the electric field strength in a radiation patterns become zero right next to the major lobe. So this is your major lobe, and right next to this major lobe at these point, your field strength or the radiation pattern power is going to be zero. So in this expression, you are going to put equal to zero and then find the value of theta, so that you will find this angle. And let me call this angle as theta double dash, right? So at FNBW point, or beam width at first null points, let me clear this up a little bit so that it will become easier for you to understand. So this angle is going to be theta double dash, and since this is symmetric, this angle is also going to be theta double dash. So we will just calculate theta double dash. So at FNBW point, uh, E at theta double dash is going to be zero, because it is a null point, first null point right after the major lobe. So if I equate it with the equation, which is cos square theta double dash, from here we will get at what points you get your cos theta as zero. So if cos square theta double dash is zero, cos theta double dash is also zero, because under root of zero is zero. So at what points you get your nulls or cos theta as zero? It is plus minus 90 degree. So it actually shows that if you go to the positive theta direction or negative theta direction, at plus minus 90 degree, you are going to get your first nulls, which means this the null this the line that uh, touches the null field, or null direction, will be in the xy plane, because at 90 degree you will get your xy horizontal plane in both the sides. So this means that what will be the value of your FNBW? It is going to be 2 into theta double dash. So let us go with the positive sign, positive 90 degree, because it doesn't matter if you write it as plus 180 or minus 180, or plus 90 or minus 90. So it will be 2 into 90 degree, which is equal to 180 degree. So your FNBW comes to be 180 degree. So I already told you that suppose if you are here or here, if you want to go to plus 180 degree, you will reach here. And if you want to go minus 180 degree, you will again reach here, but with the different direction. So it doesn't matter if you take the positive or negative sign here. So your beam width between first null is 180 degree. Now let us go to the next example. So in this example, we have got a field pattern given by electric field E theta as cos square theta, again the same as the previous example. And we have to find the beam area of this pattern. So you know the formula for beam area as omega A is equal to double integral, the first integral for calculating in the phi axis, which will go from 0 to 2 pi, and other in the theta axis, which will go from 0 to pi. Then this was your normalized power pattern. So we can call it as P theta into phi multiplied by uh, d omega. So you remember this d omega term was nothing but sine theta d phi, right? And what was this normalized power pattern? So if you can see, the maximum value of cos square theta is going to be 1. So this is already normalized. You can also write it as En theta. And Pn theta phi, since there is no phi term here, you can just write it as Pn theta will nothing but be square of E theta, right? So it will become cos to the power 4 theta, and obviously between 0 to 90 degree or 0 to pi by 2. So now we have got the expression for P and theta, and we will just put this into this equation and we will find out our beam area or beam solid angle. So this is given as integral of 0 to 2 pi, and since there is no phi term, I will just write it as d phi, and I will segregate the theta integral. And since theta is varying between 0 to 90 degree, 90 degree in radian will be pi by 2. So we will just take 0 to pi by 2. What will be P and theta? It will be nothing but cos to the power 4 theta and then sine theta d theta. So this is a very simple expression, integral expression. And you know, the integral of, oh sorry, the differential of cos to the power 5 theta divided by 5 will give you this expression. So if you differentiate cos to the power 5 theta by 5 with respect to theta, you are going to get this expression. So this is a fairly simple integral, and this expression will give you just 2 pi, because there is only one constant here which has the value of 1. So you will just multiply 2 pi into cos to the power 5 theta 0 to pi by 2. So upon calculating, you will have 2 pi by 5 as your final answer, which can be written as, in numerical terms, 1.26 stay radian or radian square. So stay radian is basically radian square. So you have got your, this is your solid angle omega A. So in this example, you are given with a normalized field pattern of an antenna, which is En is equal to sine theta into sine phi. And this En has values only at angles of theta between 0 to pi and phi for also 0 to pi, and it will be 0 elsewhere. So we have to find the directivity of this antenna. So you have got an expression of En theta phi, and you have to find directivity. So what do you think will be the best way to find the directivity of this antenna? So I think we had studied about one formula where D is equal to 4 pi upon beam solid angle of that antenna, beam area of that antenna. This is omega A, right? You had studied about this formula. So what was beam area of any antenna? It is basically the integrals around phi and theta of what? P and theta phi with respect to solid angle. So what we are going to do is we are just going to find the value of P and theta. So since you have got En as the value of normalized electric field, P and theta phi will nothing but will be En theta phi squared. So this expression is going to be sine squared theta into sine square phi, right? So this is your P and theta phi. So we will just put this into the formula. So we will get D is equal to, and since the theta and phi varies between 0 to pi only, so we will take our limits as 0 to pi only. So we will have d is equal to 4 pi divided by double integral, first integral 0 to pi, second integral is also 0 to pi, sine square theta into sine square phi into what is the value of d omega? It is sine theta d phi. So it will be sine theta d theta into d phi. So since these theta and phi terms are separated, we can separate it and write it as like this. So d will be 4 pi divided by first integral with respect to d phi will be sine square phi into d phi multiplied by second integral will be 0 to pi. The sine theta and sine square theta will multiply and become sine cube theta into d theta. So all you have to do is you have to just apply simple integral identities and you will find the value as the final value will be as 4 pi divided by uh, 2 pi by 3. So you are going to get your final directive, sorry, you are going to get your final directivity as, sorry, d is equal to this 2 pi will cut this 4 pi with 2 and 3 into 2 will become 6. So your directivity is 6. 6 will be the directivity of your antenna. So in this example, we are given a radio communication link which has a 15-watt transmitter, which means the power transmitted by this transmitting antenna is 15 watt, and it is connected to an antenna with an effective aperture of 2.5 meter square, and this antenna is operating at 5 gigahertz. Also, the receiver antenna has an effective aperture area of 0.5 meter square and is located at a 15-kilometer line of sight distance from the transmitting antenna. So assuming lossless matched antenna, lossless means efficiency of this antenna is going to be 100%. And if you know one condition regarding efficiency, that gain of antenna is given by the multiplication of efficiency of antenna with the directivity of antenna. And if this efficiency is 100%, uh, which means if efficiency is 1, then your gain is going to be equal to directivity of antenna, right? So we are assuming lossless and matched antenna. Matched antenna means whatever power the transmitter gives to the antenna is going to be 100% transmitted to antenna. So we have to find the power delivered to the receiver. So as we saw in the radio communication link lecture, there is a transmitting antenna and there is a receiving antenna. The distance between these two antenna, which is r, is given as 15 kilometers. So we will convert it into meter for calculation. And the effective area of transmitter antenna is given as 2.5 meter square, and effective area of receiver antenna is given as 0.5 meter square. And the operating frequency is 5 gigahertz. So we have to find the power received at the receiving antenna or by the receiver. So this receiver antenna is connected to a receiver, which is an electronic circuit. So you have to find the power received in this receiver antenna PR. So let us remember the formula which we studied, which is called the Friis formula. So received power PR is given as transmitted power PT divided by 4 pi R square multiplied by transmitter gain into receiver gain into lambda square upon 4 pi. So we can just write it like this. So it will become 4 pi r whole squared. So this was your Friis formula for calculating the received power. So since you are not given with these gain values, rather you are given with the effective aperture values, and we already know that aperture area or effective area can be related to gain as lambda square upon 4 pi into G for any antenna. So G can be directivity. Since this is a lossless antenna, we can directly write it as G. So in the case of transmitter, this will become a transmitting gain, and in the case of receiver, it will become receiver gain. So we have all the things now. So from here, we will replace this GR and GT with effective aperture of corresponding transmitter and receiver antenna. So we have also to calculate this lambda value. So you know that lambda is given by c divided by f, where c is the speed of light and f is the given frequency. So what is the value of c? 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, and your value of f is 5 gigahertz, which is 5 into 10 to the power 9. So you will get your lambda as lambda is equal to 0.06 meters. So if you represent this G in terms of A, you will have to replace G is equal to A multiplied by 4 pi divided by lambda square. So let us do this. Your PR formula will become now PT divided by 4 pi R whole squared. Now in place of GT, I'm going to write AT into 4 pi by lambda square. Now again in place of GR, I'm going to write AER, which is effective area of receiving antenna, multiplied by 4 pi divided by uh, lambda square, and finally multiplied by lambda square. So as you can see, this 4 pi is going to be cancelled with this 4 pi square. One of the lambda square will be cancelled out with lambda square, and we will be left with PT multiplied by AET into AER divided by lambda into R ka whole square. So this is the expression of received power in terms of effective aperture areas of both the transmitting and receiving antennas. So you just have to put all the values. You already have all the values. You have the value of lambda as 0.06 meter, and you have the value of r, which is 15 kilometers. So you have to convert it into 15 into 10 to the power 3 meters. This is your value of r, and you already have these values in meter. PT is also given as 15 watts. So you put all the values and you will find your answer as PR is equal to 23 microwatts. So you can just check it, put all the values and calculate, you will get the answer. Now let us see one more example, the last example, where the radiation pattern of an antenna is given like this. So this is basically the radiation intensity, and we have to find the maximum absolute gain of this antenna. It is also written that it is a lossless resonant half wave dipole antenna, which means that there will be no power loss uh, inside the antenna. Whatever power is fed to the antenna, it will be radiated. So since U is given, we are required to calculate the maximum absolute gain of the antenna. So you know that the maximum value of this expression is going to be B naught, because maximum value of sine cube theta is going to be 1. So maximum magnitude of U is going to be B naught. So we can say that U max is equal to B naught. Why we are calculating U max? Because you know that directivity of antenna, which is the basically the maximum absolute gain of the antenna for a lossless antenna, is basically U max divided by U average. And what was U average? U average is equal to total power radiated divided by 4 pi. So if this total power radiated, we are talking about the solid angle all around the antenna, then if we divide it by 4 pi, which is the complete solid angle of a sphere, then we will get the average intensity of any radiation. So by definition, if you don't know, you have to revise the directivity of antenna or the maximum gain of antenna in case the antenna is lossless, which means efficiency is equal to 1. Directivity is U max upon U average. So U max will be B naught. Obviously, it is very clear from this expression because sine cube theta will have maximum value of 1. So U max will be B naught. The now we have the U max. Now we have to calculate U average. So U average, for calculating U average, we have to calculate the total power radiated from the antenna, which can only be calculating by integrating it over the whole surface of the uh, spherical space. So P rad will be given as the integral over theta and phi. If you put this and solve, you will get your expression of P rad as this. And by putting this thing in this formula, we get our directivity as this, which will have the value of 1.697. So this will nothing but will be your value of gain or maximum absolute gain because efficiency is 1. Now, you can also calculate this gain in terms of dB just by taking this 10 log 10 of the absolute value of gain. You will have the gain value of 2.297 in decibels. There is one more thing given in this example, that the input impedance of this antenna is 73 ohm, and it is connected by a transmission line whose characteristic impedance is 50 ohms. So what does this mean? It means that this antenna is connected by a transmission line whose characteristic impedance is 50 ohm and the antenna impedance itself is 73 ohm. So can you tell me whether these two impedances are matching or mismatching? So these are obviously mismatching because both these values are different. So in that case, what happens is in electromagnetic field theory transmissions lines, you will see that if the characteristic impedance of transmission line does not match with the input impedance of the load or antenna, there will be reflections. If some signal is going in this direction, suppose I'm talking about in voltage term, if some V plus voltage is going in this direction, there will be some reflected voltage, I'm calling it as V minus, in the opposite direction. So there is a quantity called reflection coefficient. And if I talk about the magnitude of this reflection coefficient, it is given by V minus upon V plus, magnitude of V minus upon V plus. So what happens if I take the square of this quantity? So if I take the square of this quantity, I will get magnitude of V minus square divided by magnitude of V plus square. So can I call this reflected voltage, the square of reflected voltage as reflected power, and square of positive voltage V plus as incident power, PR upon PI? Can I call it? So we can say that the total power at any particular time incident is Pi, and the total power that is reflected is going to be PR. So what is the amount of power that goes into the antenna and radiate outside, or what is the actual power that is being transmitted by the antenna in the form of radiation? It will be Pi minus PR. So if you want to calculate the efficiency of this antenna, or you can say the combination of this transmission line and antenna, in that case the efficiency is going to be the total used power, which is Pi minus PR, divided by total power incidence, right? So you can also write it as Pi by Pi minus PR upon Pi. So this can be written as equal to 1 minus PR upon Pi. So can you tell me what was the value of this PR upon Py? It was nothing but, from here, it was nothing but the square of the magnitude of sigma, which is called reflection coefficient. So this sigma, we call this as sigma. This is called reflection coefficient. So this is what exactly it is written here. The efficiency of this kind of arrangement is called efficiency, which is represented as 1 minus magnitude of square of reflection coefficient of transmission line antenna setup. So this reflection coefficient or magnitude of this reflection coefficient is basically given as ZL minus ZO upon ZL plus ZO, where ZL is the load impedance in this case, which is the antenna impedance. ZO is the characteristic impedance of the transmission line. So you have got all these quantity given in the example. So if you put, you will find the efficiency of this transmission line antenna combo, which comes to be around 0.965. So you can also calculate this efficiency in terms of dB like this. So this was just an additional topic I had to discuss, and I hope you will now be able to solve all the questions related to all these examples. Thank you.